So I want to talk to you about our home state of Florida. I will be down there in just a little bit, so I'm excited about that.
Oh,
But
are you going
I
to
want to talk,
you going to the Republican conference?
yes, the Republican conference right in your backyard.
All
So
right.
I do actually want to talk about Republican politics, given just that the state has become more conservative, right? We saw overwhelmingly, even in the midterms, it really did wash away the perception of Florida being a swing state. And
Yeah.
it seems like all national politics is local in Florida. So I wanted to ask, just start you on this front the issue of abortion, because we obviously have been seeing the ramifications of that across the country. In Texas, we're awaiting a lawsuit there about whether medically induced abortion pills will possibly be restricted. Um, just today in Florida, already Republican state legislators have actually approved, at least kick this one bill out of committee. It's the first step of potentially putting into place a 6-week abortion ban. You obviously ran on this. It's something that Democrats have passionately been talking about even before Roe v. Wade was overturned. How can you talk about this with a number of your constituents who are concerned, who have legitimate worries, may not know where to go if they find themselves in the situation, especially since a number of southern states are now limiting abortions? How are you kind of preparing your constituents about this potential reality and giving them hope of maybe changes not tomorrow, but down the road?
Yeah, this is a really important question because people are scared, right? People are very scared in the state of Florida right now. And it's women and childbearing adults. It's our LGBTQ plus community. It's Black people. It's immigrants. It's Latinos. It's poor people. Because we have a governor who's been abusing his power to target marginalized communities because he wants to run for president and it helps him in his polls for his primary. And that's what's going on right now in this state. He's closing businesses. He's changing the makeup of schools, firing entire boards, putting in conservative lapdogs that will just do what he says. I mean, it's wild what's going on in this state. And so what we're doing is we're working with local stakeholders. You know, there's amazing organizations like Florida Access Network that work at providing the logistics of people being able to get abortion that might not be able to here. And if this 6-week abortion ban passes, which the governor in a press conference has said he thinks it's good policy, he thinks it's a good thing, he thinks it should pass, shows me that it probably will pass because whatever the governor wants, he gets in this state. Because the Republicans in the state legislature are just lapdogs who do what he says, and that's part of the problem. That's part of the reason we're in this problem right now. So we're working with stakeholders, people who have the infrastructure to help folks receive the care that they need, whether it's abortion or et cetera. And then we're also looking at how do we combat this from a legislative point of view. And obviously the North Star is we need to codify Roe at the federal level, and Congress needs to do that. But obviously, like I said, it's a math problem. We don't have the math for the next 2 years at least. And so we have to think about what can we do in the interim. And that's working with these groups, and that's ensuring people have the resources they need. We take care of us. That's really what that's about. We also think there's going to be, hopefully, we don't know yet, but codifying the right to an abortion in the Florida Constitution by way of ballot measure. And if you look, UNF just released a poll that I think, you hear people talking about Florida's a red state, Florida's a red state. For me, I think we had a horrible year. I'm not saying we didn't. And I'm not saying the state's going to flip blue next year or next cycle. But I want people to think about this. I think Florida's a case study in the difference between policy and politics. And what I mean by that is this. Look, there's a UNF poll that just came out that shows that in a head-to-head match, DeSantis wins Florida by a few points over President Biden. That's politics. When you look at policy, medical or recreational marijuana, codifying the right to an abortion, things like $15 minimum wage. These things poll over 70%. In fact, $15 minimum wage passed here with over 60% of the vote. So there's a disconnect here between a state that actually, in terms of policy, is pretty progressive. $15 minimum wage, second chances with people who have previous felonies, the right to vote, medical marijuana, and then polling over 70% on codifying abortion, the right to an abortion, ensuring that people are able, medical or recreational marijuana. But then they want to vote for DeSantis a little bit more than someone else. And that's something that DeSantis is good at. He's good at separating the policy from the politics. This whole conversation of woke and whatever the hell that is and all that, that's all politics. It's not about policy. And that's why he's thriving in that world. Democrats, we need to combine those things. And I don't mean, oh, be policy wonks and be all wonky with people. No, take policy, learn how to tell the story of policy, the narrative of it, connect it to working people, create that working class movement that really it's what our party should be about. And that's how we reclaim this state. And it's going to take time. And I'm here to do the work. But there's a difference between policy and politics. In the state of Florida, yeah, it might be a red state in terms of politics right now. But when you look at the polls and you look at what we've done in terms of ballot initiatives, the ideological, ideology of this state is really in a progressive lane.